Hey everyone, thanks for checking out another video. So today I'm just going to be talking. I'm just going to be talking about my perspective of scales. So growing up, I didn't really understand what a scale was or why to practice it. So honestly, for the first several years of my playing, I really didn't practice them. I was learning a lot of the songs and guitar solos that I loved. Um, and I remember I was learning Led Zeppelin solo at the time, and someone told me, they're like, that's great you're learning that, but make sure you go and practice your scales. And so I got home from school and I went to play the solo, and I was like, oh yeah, they said practice the scales. So I went and I played. I was like, okay, well that's real lame. And I went back to. Right, so what I didn't understand was Led Zeppelin and all the other bands. They're using these different scales to get these different colors and tones in their music. Um, but all of this led me to the big question, for me at least, was what is a scale? And I've asked this to dozens of students over the years, and I've gotten a wide range of answers. And honestly, a lot of people feel pretty confident of answering that question at first, but once they start digging beneath the surface, they actually start to have a harder time really pinpointing what it is. I've gotten a lot of answers that sound like a specific group, or specific notes in a specific order, a specific line you play, the thing you sang in school, to I don't know. And my answer to this question is it's a pool of notes or a group of notes that altogether makes a specific sound or mood or vibe. Now, I know there's some theory people out there, if they hear this, they'll say, well, it's a specific intervals and a specific order, and that's true. But when I'm really playing and I kind of step back from the theory, really all I'm thinking of is the specific scale has this specific sound. So let me show you what I mean. So here's a blues scale. This is a G blues scale. So right, so that in itself isn't music, right? You would never go to a show and hear someone just play the scale, right? But if I combine different elements of music like rhythm and articulation and adding melodies, and using that scale, you could get something like this. Right, and so you heard that was more musical, but what hopefully you heard is when I played music from the scale, it reflected the sound of the scale. So whatever scale you're using when you're, or whatever music you're playing, whatever scale you're basing that off is going to reflect the sound of that scale. So here's another example. This is more of like a jazzy scale. So you could have something like this. Right? Now that is a way different vibe than. Right? So those were two different groups of notes, two different scales, and they had two totally different sounds or different vibes or moods. And whenever I'm showing a student this, I always show this next one just to kind of really drive it home. This one sounds like you're in Egypt. Like there's the pyramids right there. And now we're in Mexico. So those were four different groups of notes, four different scales, and four completely different sounds, right? So this is why we practice scales. We practice these scales so that we can get those sounds under our fingers and into the music. So if we're jamming, if we're writing a song, if we're playing a solo, if there's a specific sound we want, we can use that sound in the music and by using these different scales. So this understanding really helped me to actually want to practice scales. Because once I understood that, I was like, oh man, there's so many scales. I want to get all these sounds. But because I didn't have that understanding, I didn't find any joy in playing scales. Where now I actually enjoy practicing new scales because I recognize it's going to get me a new sound that I can bring to the table. So I hope this explanation helps you and it makes sense to you and makes you actually want to practice your scales. And I will see you next time.